Hello everyone, welcome to the Money Club series. My name is Zah, I am your host, and I'm joined by my Hezbollah counterpart, Sam ELJERBAN.
If we weren't being monitored, we are now.
Who gives a fuck, man? We're past that point now.
I was going to say it's past the point of no return now. It's become nonsense, but yeah. How you been, man? It's been a very long time.
Hard year, very hard year. Welcome back. I think it's been the toughest year ever for us in business. I think for the rest of the world, it's been hard. Cost of living is through the roof. There's some really bad things happening, on a global scale. Trump just won yesterday, so maybe he can make some change. Who knows, right? You can never trust these guys, but hopefully we can only pray that something good's going to happen from it.
True.
But us personally, we had another baby. We got a little daughter now, Latifa AZMI. She's now 8 months, and that's how long it's been since we've done a podcast.
That's why it's been hard to get back on film, right?
Well, it's been hard juggling that. I'm a new father. Obviously, I've got 2 under 2 basically, but also it's been a very hard year in business. And because we look after clients on both sides of the business, we take on a lot of problems, and it's just mentally draining.
I think we're both at the coalface. That's the thing. So the media might say things theoretically and conceptually, but because we both serve the public, essentially, public comes to us. We're public-facing businesses. We actually see and hear straight from the streets, really, as to what's happening, people's problems, and the pain. There's a lot of pain. It's getting worse, but I think there's light at the end of the tunnel, which is, I think that's what you have to always go back to and go, okay, it might be tough, but it won't be tough forever. So let's have some positivity.
And the issue is, Sam, is that the bigger you get, right, in business, the bigger the problems are. The more money you have, the more capital you're sort of controlling. Any fires that come about, you're like it takes an army to put them out. So it's not like it was 10, 15 years ago. So, it doesn't really. I feel like it doesn't get any better, but you just get stronger in terms of dealing with it. And I'm quite fortunate that I've got someone like you, for example, where I can actually vent my problems to, because I'm continuously getting thrown problems from my clients, and I guess that's what I get paid to do, and same with you, to solve those problems. But it becomes quite draining, because when you're dealing with your own personal problems in terms of in business, I'm saying, it's hard for us to have anyone to go to, because it's just one of those things. Like, we can't obviously go to our clients and say, hey, well, we've got this problem, what advice can you give us? Because we need to be the rock for them.
We're the provider of advice.
Right, that's right. Yeah. So, and that's what this podcast is about today, is about real mentor advice. And we've done stuff on mentors before, but this is actually real mentor advice. So these points that we're going to go through from an actual mentor of mine. He's not officially a mentor, like he's actually just a really good friend, almost like a bigger brother. He's done very well for himself. He's probably one of the wealthiest guys that I know. But that's not the reason why I actually lean on him for advice. It's not because of the wealth he has or the businesses he's created. It's that I actually look up to him in every aspect of his life. Like, he's got a beautiful family.
The whole package going on.
The whole package. He's got a beautiful family. He prioritizes health and fitness. He prioritizes his wife. He's just a beautiful guy all round. So, and the way his mind works is just like, he's always got a solution. So if I have a problem, like I really do feel like I can call him and he can, help me through it. And he's helped me, I guess, through a lot of things of being a new father as well, because he's got 4 kids himself. So he's been very helpful in the last, say, 12 months, because we've hit a lot of tough times, and I've lent on him for so many, I guess, different things. And what we want to go through today is probably 10 things that are standout pieces of advice that I've gotten from him in the last 12 months, which has helped me push through this tough period. And, I think hopefully this can help our listeners push through this tough period, because we know everybody's going through this tough time at the moment where it's basically hard to grow. You know, it doesn't matter how driven you are. It sometimes feels impossible.
There's so many barriers right now. I think that's a blessing to have that guy in your life, because I think in my experience with mentors is sometimes you have to take snippets from one and the other and have a bigger network. But if you can get like 90% of your assistance through that one guy, man, he's a gem.
And I've always been like that. I've always liked to take like bits of gold from different people. I've probably got like 5-6 guys that I can sort of lean on for different things. But the reason why I wanted to focus on this particular person, and I'm not going to name him because he likes to keep a low profile, but he is just someone that I feel like 90% of the stuff that I need, I can actually go to him, right? Yeah. So I guess let's start off with number one, and it's sort of no secret, but it's just all about hard work. Yeah. Right? Like he has always said to me, people ask him, what's the secret to success? And he's like, there's no secret. He goes, there's no book, there's no podcast, there's no YouTube video, there's no secret potion. It's just hard work.
The only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. Everyone's heard that one. So he's pretty much that's the metaphor he's working on. And to be honest, I think as the older you get in life, the more you see that. You see the people earlier on that don't maybe put in the hard work, whether that's learning, developing themselves, keeping fit. We've talked about this before, where I think around 30, 35, you start to see where people sort of maybe plateau or take off or start to decline. So I think it's very important to realize that the consistency of hard work over time will really pay dividends.
Well, it compounds, right, Sam? So like, you know, wait till you get to my age, 40, right? You enter into your 40s and you start seeing people that haven't put the work in, they've let themselves go, and they do see that difference, and it gets them down, right? So and the majority of our listeners are probably below the age of 40, and you know they need to hear this. Like, put in the work now, and it's never too late, right? You can always turn your life around, but the real secret to success is just actual hard work. And I think now with things like technology and access to so much information, like so many people are trying to do things the easy way, right? And people have seen others make money through crypto and all of that sort of thing. And, you know, there's these YouTube stars now that, you know, and they work hard
in their space,
right?
We don't sort of get it.
Yeah, but like, you know, they people see that, right? And they see the instant success and they think, oh, well, there are easier ways than sort of becoming a plumber and starting a business, and then, you know, starting from scratch. And, you know, I guess my mentor, he started from scratch, and, you know, now he's one of the biggest apartment developers in the country. So he's done very well for himself from starting from zero. You know, we have come from very similar backgrounds, and I think that's the reason why we resonate with each other so much. Migrant families, you know, migrant parents, brought up in commission flats. I was the same. I was born into a commission flat. You know, and, you know, our parents worked hard, and we had to work hard and start from nothing. Nothing was given to us. And, you know, 15, 20 years later, then, you know, we can see what the hard work has paid off. There's no secret.
No, and I think the message to take home from this is he didn't start an apartment developer. He didn't start there. So it's not like he's 40 years old, 50 years old, whatever, and he just started doing it. He had done all the prep beforehand to get to that stage. So really,
well, the guy's an accountant by trade, right? And
so
you know,
can you introduce me to this bloke?
I have this thing with accountants, you know, but you guys are so smart with numbers and all of that sort of thing. And but my point is that he started his trade as an accountant, like, which is the most boring job in the world, which you can attest for. Right?
I agree, man.
And look, it's really starting from the bottom. You had to go to uni, you had to get your degree, had to get a job that paid, I don't know, 28 grand a year or whatever it was, and you're not even doing accounting, you're making coffees, right? You work your way up that way, and you know, like you never know where it can lead you if you just keep at it.
And I think that's the message, is consistent self-discipline. You got to just, whatever it is, keep the momentum going. Don't stop. Otherwise, you're going to get to a point where it gets so hard to start again. And I think, just the momentum. You've got to keep momentum in whatever you're doing. And it might not have to be, like, we talk a lot about hard work, but I think what you could work hard as well as working smart. And I think
do both
at the same. If you can do both at the same, because there's only a certain amount of hours in a day. So if you're doing 9 hours of work, if you can get someone else to do some of that, outsource all that, kind of be creative about your time spent. We've talked about focusing on your value, all that kind of stuff, and outsourcing where your value is not used to the maximum, so you can multiply your time.
So I think that where people go wrong is they try and work smart too quickly.
Well, they probably haven't worked hard.
They haven't built the foundation through that hard work. True. And where we see the success in all the people that we sort of deal with who are successful is that they've got that foundation of hard work there that has led them into going, okay, well, I've worked hard. I know what it's like in terms of squeezing out 24 hours out of the day.
Yes.
How do I now do it better and work smarter? And I've done the same thing.
Yeah. It happens over time. That's the evolution of it. So, no, amazing. Number two. Real mentor advice, point 2, stabilize business, balance growth.
Okay, so like we've just gone through this massive growth phase where we've had super low interest rates, cheap money, almost free money, right? The government's printed all of this stimulus. Some people were very stupid and they went out and bought yachts and they pulled money out of their super to buy cars and all of that sort of thing because they had the opportunity to do so. But then there were some people that were really, really smart with that and gone, okay, we've got rates at 1.8%. Let's try and borrow as much money as possible and put them into assets. Let's try and use the government stimulus to maybe start a business. And we've had this bull run over the last 5-6 years where we've just had cheap money. Yes. We've had, really, really good times, and it's been a great opportunity to grow. But you can't grow all the time, right? We're sort of in a period where if you're trying to set world records now in whatever you're doing, it's a very risky business because interest rates have tripled. Money's a lot more expensive now. There's probably not as much money in the economy, or people are scared to let go of their money at the moment. So you don't want to be over leveraged at a time like this. So what a really good thing to do over the next probably 2 or 3 years is stabilize your business, stabilize your expenses, maybe cut expenses, right? Start cleaning your business up because you can't be as frivolous as we used to when, say, rates were 2%. So stop buying property. I know I'm the property guy trying to get everyone to buy property, but maybe it's stop buying property and stabilize your portfolio. And then when the market swings again and the economy starts getting better, then focus on growth again. So growth is good. Like, we listen to podcasts like this and we get all pumped up and we want to do shit, but for everybody it's different, right? And you need to determine when it's right to keep growing or when the time is right to stabilize. And you might work on stabilization for 2 or 3 years, right? And you've just got to think long term.
Yeah, and we have to remember that everything comes in cycles. So there's a reason. So that post-COVID boom period with low interest rates, that's part of a cycle that we all work in. Everyone should know the sort of cycles. There's booms, plateaus, busts, all that, and it's usually on an incline like that. So what we have to understand is the cycle now is not necessarily for taking big risks, growing so exponentially like before, because the whole system that we work in, you work in it, I work, everyone works in the financial system, is saying don't. Rates are high, they're saying maybe don't take out so much debt. We don't want you to do that because of the economic environment at the moment. So look at indicators as well. So everyone's telling you to consolidate. So maybe batten down the hatches, consolidate the growth you've able to achieve if you are able to. If you didn't, maybe look at that as a learning period in your life and go, okay, well, if that happens again, I know what to do and maybe do something better. But I think it's really, because times are quite tough, it's sort of forcing you to look inward and go, okay, we'll make more efficiencies within ourselves instead of looking outward for maybe opportunities.
Well, you become smarter and you become more resourceful and you become, I guess, you watch your money like a hawk. You plug leakages and all of that sort of thing. And I was actually surprised to get this from my mentor, because he usually is like, yeah, go, running 100 miles an hour. But in reality, he's like, well, you want to be here. If you're in business, not like I guess a professional football player where you've got this short lifespan in the sport. You're in business for the rest of your life. So you want to make sure that you can last and sustain and have that stamina to run through various cycles. This is not the last downturn we're going to go through. And we need to understand that downturns come, but then they don't last forever.
Exactly.
Upswings will come again, and if you're prepared for it, you can then go on that growth phase again. But then in maybe 6, 7, 8 years, we don't know, we might have that downturn again. And this is where it's really good to talk to older people who have been in business. And I talk to people like even my father-in-law, for example. Like I go, what was it like?
Yes.
You know, like back in the 80s and back in the 90s. And you know what they say to us? They go, you guys haven't seen shit, right? Like, and that's almost like a worry, right? Because you just think, oh, it's going to get worse than this. You know what I mean?
It's already hard, man.
But it's really good to talk to those guys, because they've been through so many ups and so many downs. But then again, they'll, you know, when we talk about the ups, they always say that every boom that occurs in the economy, people think it's never going to be like that again.
Yeah.
You know, and they said that. They've been saying that about, you know, the last COVID boom, when the stimulus was all printed and rates were 2%. They're like, oh, this will never happen again. It will never grow like that again. And even I believed that. I was like, yeah, like we had like 30% growth in like the space of 2 years. It's massive. And I'm like, I'm like, oh, once in a generation boom and all that sort of thing. But
we've had 3.
I mean, but everybody has said that, right? So I think the point is that these tough times aren't going to last forever. It feels like it is, but it'll pass.
It'll pass, yeah.
It'll pass. And you know, we've got to also understand, like, we live in a great country. You know, like, look at what's happening in the rest of the world. We've got clean water, food, you know, and a roof over our heads. And what we're complaining because eggs are fucking too expensive. We've got access to eggs, you know what I mean?
Perspective, we need perspective.
Yeah, so like these tough times aren't really that tough, but, you know, economy-wise, it is quite weak at the moment, but it's not going to last forever.
And just adjust your actions accordingly. That's all you got to do. All right. Real mentor advice, point 3. Keep accumulating property. Oh, you love this one.
Yeah, so, you know...
if you can.
If you can, right?
You can.
Yeah, if you can. Keep accumulating property. Don't think that there's something brighter or shiny, something else out there that's for you. And we get that all the time. People going, oh, what about this? What about that? The only other thing that we would say people to do outside of that is to invest, even before accumulating property, is invest into their skill set or their business, right? Because that is going to give them the highest return on investment. But along the way, keep accumulating assets. And yes, it's hard at the moment because of cash flow issues and all of that sort of thing. But there are strategies out there to help you hold on through these tough times, because interest rates will eventually cool off and maybe come back from, say, 6.5% to, say, 4.5%, 5%, which is realistic. Rents are going to continue to increase because we have no supply. It will get better. It will get better. But if you're not in the market, when the market ticks and, I guess, I'm not going to say boom, but recovers and goes up, you don't want to buy then. I mean, if you have to, yes. But wouldn't it be nice to go, oh, I bought like 2 years ago when it was, you know, it was at its lowest point. So, you know, keep accumulating no matter what market conditions are, but responsibly, accumulate responsibly.
There's a reason you invest anyway in housing and property, depending, I guess, regardless of the environment. It's because it's a safe place to put your money, really. And it's funny, you know that term, safe as houses? I like the history of words, so I like looking about how it came to be. Like the mortgage, it's a death pledge. So this safe as houses came about, it's a British saying. It was coined by some bloke in the 1800s. And he said this because a lot of people were losing money on speculative railway investments. So there must have been a lot of investments in railways back then going bust. And this guy decided to park money in property, and that's where that term came about, like safe as houses. Houses are safe compared to railways. So really, it depends.
That's interesting. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I always like to, whenever I hear something, I'm like, why the hell, why would you come up with that shit?
Where do you get this stuff
because
from?
I'm just like, cause think, everyone says bricks and mortar, safe. Why, who the fuck came up with that?
And there's so much truth behind that, because we've looked at commercial property and we've dabbled in it ourselves, not heavily, but you know, and we compare it with residential housing, and you just can't beat it. Like, we always go back to, and it's not just the house, it's the land and the location and all of that sort of thing. And it's where I guess our business name came from. Luxland, it's because land is the ultimate luxury, right? Like, it really is. Like, forget fucking Birkin handbags, forget first class tickets to Dubai, forget Rolexes, forget BMWs. Like, really, if we were taught as kids that the ultimate luxury is land holding, and we bought as much land as possible, as early as possible, or controlled as much land as possible, man, like, we would be so much further in front. But because we have so many distractions of, you know, investing in crypto, investing in, you know, some bullshit business that that's going to be passive for you, that you're not going to have any.
They get rich quick schemes. That's usually what people are doing, is they're like, how can I make the most amount of money so quickly? Where property is not like that, but it's generally across the board a sure thing. And going back to the business branding, grow your wealth. It's about growing wealth. So property investment, what we do, residential type stuff, I think has its place when you don't have money. And this is a lot of people. We don't have capital. We weren't from rich families. We don't have $1 million. If you have $1 million cash, or 2 million, 3 million, you probably won't invest too much in real estate, because you can probably get a better return on that money somewhere else. So if you're coming to try and expand your capital, real estate's the best place to do that, because leverage.
Well, you and I both started, like, at different times, but you and I both started with about $70,000 in savings. You know, we have a very similar story. And our goal really is to expand that $70,000 into, I don't know, $700,000, and then into $7 million, and then into $17 million, and so forth, so forth, so forth. And then once you have that capital, you've got that choice. And I have so many people that I present to, they go, oh, but what do I do in 10 years' time? What do I do in 15 years' time? We've got all this property. You can sell it if you've got so many options, right? Imagine if you didn't. Right,
well, you have no choice then.
Don't make it like it's a hard.
It's a problem.
Yeah, it's not a.
He doesn't even have it, and it's a problem.
Yeah. So, like, it's really just expanding that capital, so you've got choice, right? You might sell down everything, pay some taxes on it, and just, you know, we wouldn't recommend it, but you might just put in money in the bank and just live off that. You've got so many choices, but to save that amount of money in you know, the space of, say, 15, 20 years, I would say it's impossible with the tax system we have, and you know, adjusting for inflation and all of that sort of thing.
Virtually impossible. And I think going back to some of the finance stuff that I read about, and just my space, they treat, so financial planners, advisors, the financial system, they treat you as, well, you're in accumulation phase from when you start working till 60. That's a phase of your life they call accumulation phase. That's when you're supposed to be accumulating assets. And the fastest way to do that is through property, because of the leverage. So if we just look at, again, it's like looking at the system that we're in. They're telling you accumulation phase. They're telling you to buy shit during this period, so you can then fund yourself in retirement. So I guess the environment aside, you should still be trying to accumulate whenever you can.
Yeah, and if you can't, because your cash flow is maybe not allowing for it, but you've got some properties under your belt, then focus on just holding them.
Holding,
Right? Don't think about selling. You're going to go backwards.
And you're going to probably want to do it again later. All right, moving on. Number 4, mentor advice. Don't be a victim. Ooh.
So, you know, I say this to everyone, myself anyway. I didn't even need to get this advice, but like, so many people play the victim. As soon as there's a little bit of pain, it's like, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me. And it's like, the way I look at it now, Sam, is that everyone's in the same fucking boat. Everyone's in the same boat.
Everyone has the same problem.
You know what I mean? Like, and if you focus on being the victim and bitching and complaining and being negative about your situation, it's actually not going to get you anywhere. And to be honest with you, people like me look at you as weak.
All right, I heard a saying, touching on everyone's in the same boat. I reckon we're all in the same storm. We're in different boats. I'll tell you why. You're copping the same bullshit as, say, Joe Blow, but your boat, how you've built yourself over time and how you think, allows you to navigate the fucking storm better. But that bloke doesn't. He's crumbling.
Your boat's your brain, right?
Yeah. So we're all in the same storm, but you're just able to withstand it better because of what you built. Your boat's better.
And the reason why I've put this point down is because we were at dinner the other night with my mentor, and he was saying, he was just basically reiterating to me, going, Zar, whatever you do, just don't play the fucking victim. You fucking made the choice of trying to be who you are.
Yes.
Right? If it comes with challenges, that's on fucking you. If you play the victim, you're trying to blame someone else. Yeah. And it's like, why'd you fucking do it in the first place? You shouldn't, you didn't, it was your responsibility. You put your hand up, fucking cop it on the chin. You know what I mean? And, this year's been extremely bad for us. Like on the day my daughter was born, I found out that I lost such a large sum of money. It was such a bittersweet day, right? Mm-hmm. It was 2 hours before we gave birth to my daughter. Like I found out that I had lost 7 figures.
Wow.
Right? Like, and it's the biggest loss that I've made in one deal.
Wow.
Ever.
Yeah.
Right?
Huge.
But then my princess was born.
And your daughter comes.
Right?
Wow.
Which
what a day, man. What a day.
Made it all go away for the 3 days I was in hospital, and then I had to go back to reality. But it was so hard. It's still hard to comprehend. And we're going through the processes of obviously trying to claw whatever we can back. But it's just, if I didn't have the mindset of going, you know what? Cop it on the chin, keep punching on, move forward, don't blame anyone else. Actually, the only person that I do blame is myself. Because I put my hand up to sign that contract. I put my hand up to transfer those funds. Yeah. I put my hand up to go, I'm going to do that deal. I'm not complaining about it, right? It's fucking hard to deal with, I won't lie, but I'm not playing the victim here, right? I pulled my socks back up and went, okay, I'm going back out to the marketplace and I'm making that money back. And it feels like I've worked for free this year, right? But the lessons that I've learned out of that is, man, I've come out of it so strong. And I don't think you've even heard me complain about it once. Do you know what I mean?
I heard the story, and I think I complained more about it than you did.
Yeah, the people around me complained and G'd me up to go shoot this bloke more than I even wanted to. I was like, you know what? Shit happens. But
that just shows you how tough your mindset's become.
Look, it helps that I'm diversified and I've got a lot of other things happening and all of that sort of thing, and I've got a bigger boat, right? Which is
stronger. It's built strong.
That I'm able to weather the storm. But I never really, I just don't want to be branded as a victim, right? Like, I'm the last person that will go to a current affair and say, hey, can you do a story on this guy?
Yeah.
And nah, man, I'm not going to do that shit. I'm the last person to go to a lawyer and go, I'm going to sue this person. That's another thing that happened to me this year. First time I got sued, right? And it was serious shit too. And I lost. I had to pay up.
Wow.
It's just, I didn't even talk about that, right? I've got a monthly payment that I've got to make. Even
then, you took full accountability, my responsibility. You're owning it.
I decided to get into this shit. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna get myself out of it. So you know what I mean?
You got to roll with
I'm not gonna fucking put it on anyone else. And it's hard. Yeah, it's hard, but it builds character. Do you know what I mean? I will be made of stainless steel when I get out of this life because of all of the things that I get through. Bring it on, I'll do more. You know what I mean?
My mum used to say this saying, you made your bed, now you lie in it. So it's like what you're doing. So you put yourself in that situation. You can win or lose. If you lose, you just got to learn.
100%. It's a fucking dirty game. It's a dirty game. It's like these guys who, they play gangster, right? And they do drug deals or whatever. They murder people, all of that sort of stuff, right? And then they get pinched. And then they roll.
Yeah.
It's like, you're playing a dirty game. Why would you do that? You need to accept that you've been caught and you've got to now cop it on the chin.
You got away with what you got away with.
Don't roll it on to someone else and be a victim and say, oh, no, he did it. You know what I mean? And how are you looked in that world if you're a snitch? That's the same in this business world. If you're a victim, you basically look like a snitch.
Your reputation's gone.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I love it, man. Love it. Man, can I meet this mentor? He sounds like a champion.
He's a secret. He's a secret.
All right, mentor advice number 5. Build equity. Equity, what is it?
Well, okay, I'll go on, Sam.
I was just going to say, what is it? I think equity, I don't know where you're going to go with this regarding your mentor, but just generally, equity, I think, instead of just equity in property, we deal with that a lot of the time. That's obviously where the main use of that word comes from with us. But I think equity is just your value. So it's usually your total, say, value less some negativity, and that's your net value in equity. So I think across the board, you got to just really, what that says to me is you got to work on yourself, become valuable, increase your net value to people and your family, your network, maybe your business, increase the equity within that, and your property portfolio.
Well,
all aspects of life, in a way.
Dollar value, everybody knows build equity, right? Everyone knows that you got to buy property, you want it to go to $1 million bucks, and you're from 500 and you've made $500,000 in equity. We're not going to touch on that. But it's building equity in your brand, in your business, in your personal brand, really, right? And this goes back to the previous point of don't be a victim. If you show signs that you're a victim in business, your equity goes down. Right? So people I encounter in business or in business dealings, and they show cards that they're a victim, I look at them as their equity has reduced.
Red flag.
Right? They don't have as much credibility as if they weren't playing the victim. And this is not just that point. It's on everything else. Build equity in your relationships. Right? Like pay deposits with people. You know, do the lunches, do the dinners, do the sit downs. Fuck the Zoom off, right? Don't even do a phone call. Say, I'm coming to see you. Like, I'll drive 2-3 hours to sit with a family to discuss their future financial goals. I've just built equity because I've just put a deposit in their account. Some people say, Zah, I want to come to the office because I love Bondi. I want to do some shopping and I want to go to the beach. I'm like, fair enough, but I'm actually happy to come and see you. And the reason why I do that is because I'm trying to build equity. Right? They can see, wow, Zah drove 45 minutes to come and see me. He took time out of his day to come and see me. So now I've built equity with that family. I've built equity within my brand. So continuously building equity amongst yourself, not just dollar value, right? But personal value as well is really important because that also compounds. Right? After 15, 20 years, you know that you can pick up the phone and get whatever you need because you've made so many deposits everywhere. You've got equity everywhere throughout the country. Mate, they move heaven and earth for you. You know? And that's what you need in business. You need people to move heaven and earth. Otherwise, when you're starting out in business and you're trying to get a resource or you're engaging someone for the first time, like it's difficult. Try and get a quote from a builder that you've never worked with before, right?
Difficult, yeah.
Try and get a contract reviewed from a lawyer that you've never used before, right? Like it's hard.
So essentially what you got to be doing is to increase your equity over time in every facet. You have to be more giving than you are receiving, essentially. You got to give the world. And we can talk literally a whole podcast about this. It's about paying your bills on time. Correct, yeah.
Right? It's about making sure you get the bill whenever there's an opportunity. You want to build that credibility with yourself that you're reliable. You're not someone who's going to fuck around. Right? I've got people at the moment, partners that I'm dealing with, where they owe me money, right? And I'm not saying it's large amounts of money, right? I'm talking maybe $20, $30, $40, $50,000, right? Or still a considerable amount, right? Yeah. And they are just taking their time to pay the invoices. And it's like, what do I think of you, right? Now, the people that pay the invoices before I can even send them an invoice, the equity they have built up with me is so high.
The way you look at them, yeah.
If they call, I pick up their call straight away. So these are the things these are little things that you can do to make sure that you're building that equity continuously, and then people value you in society. You know what I mean?
Like, it's like how you conduct yourself and your integrity and character.
And we test people out.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Right? We had someone the other day ask us for a loan, and said, we'll pay you back, next week. And it was only, a few $1,000s. And we're like, yeah, no worries, wrote the check. Haven't heard from him.
Haven't heard from him since.
Haven't heard from him. And it's like, we're not going to hit them up, because the longer it goes on, the more we find out about that person. So people don't realize that they're being tested, right? And you're the same. Like, you'll invoice a client, for example, and so many people listening to this will be in the same boat. You'll invoice the client, and then how long do you got to wait for an invoice? Sometimes you got to send reminders, and then you start thinking, do I really value this person, and do I really want to help them do their work? It's going to be in the back of your mind. It doesn't matter if it's unprofessional or not. You're going to be thinking that. Lindsay, our producer, right? Obviously, we're going to pay for this podcast and this being filmed. He doesn't leave my office before I pay him. You know what I mean? Like, I want him to know that, like, when he comes here, man, it's a done deal. Right? And this guy picks up the phone whenever I call him. He's like, yeah, I'm available for you whenever. Whatever you want, Zah. You know what I mean? And that's what I try and do with everyone. I want people to know that, man, I mean business.
This is your standard. So your standard is very high in your conduct.
Tony Robbins says it. Raise your standards. You know what I mean? Like, raise your standards in everything in life. And watch, everything becomes better.
Equity will grow. Love it, man. Love it. All right. Mentor advice number 6: understand numbers, returns, risk.
Okay,
tax,
this comes from being an accountant, right? Like, and I've got this thing with accountants because you guys have taught me so much in terms of understanding returns and risk, and obviously tax is a massive thing, because living in Australia we pay so much tax. So you'd be mad not to educate yourself on how to minimize that tax and sort of, work to the tax code, because you've been given this tax code to work with. And when you're making really large numbers in terms of revenue or profit, you really do need to, it's almost like a separate job that you need to have to analyze, because we can be talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars that can just, I wouldn't say get lost to the ATO, but it doesn't really need to go there, because you can claw that back for yourself. So there's no point turning over, say, $10-15 million a year and going, I'm going to ignore, the tax side of things, because I'm just going to leave that to my accountant.
Bite your ass.
Man, you're leaving too much money on the table there.
No, I agree. I think one thing I found over time that this is the financial literacy is lacking in a lot of people. You're not taught it in school. You've got to sort of develop it yourself over time. If your family is not talking about money and stuff, which a lot of families don't, you're not going to get exposed to it that well. And you'll sort of be lacking in that space, which can lead you down a bad path. So I think learning just the basics, if you can't, especially if you want to do grand things, if you don't learn the basics, if you can't balance your own checkbook, they say, and budget your own money and your own personal living expenses, how are you going to run a business? If you can't get that right, how are you going to do a business? How are you going to do a property deal? How are you going to build an apartment complex? So you've got to go back to basics. It's not that hard learning all this stuff.
I think there's the incentive is not enough in the beginning, right? Because most people, they start out, earn 80 grand a year, whatever it is, 100 grand a year. You're not really paying that much tax when you think about it, right? In this grand scheme of things, you're on the lower tax bracket.
Be like 10 grand, 15 grand.
Yeah, you're getting a bit of a refund, so you don't really give a fuck about it, right?
And you're young, you don't care about it.
But it's when you start making more. And for those guys who are listening that are in business, we all want to do more. We want to do more revenue, we want to do more profit, we want to scale, right? Which means that you're probably not going to be happy with just turning over 100 grand a year. You're going to want to be doing millions. But what happens when that millions comes through? Number one, you need to know how to minimize your tax. We all know that, right? We're not going to spend too much time on taxes. But you also need to know returns.
Yes.
Like, how many people do we know go, I'll just buy a home. And I'll pay my mortgage down, which is saving me 6%, which is a non-taxed deduction for them, right? Don't want to spend too much time on tax, but we want to spend time on potentially returns. Now, if I've got a spare $1 million in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I know I've figured out through my property strategies that I can get 100% cash on cash return within 18 to 24 months, right? Through our development projects or whatever it is that we do. I know I can get that return. It's mad for me to go, I'm going to pay down a loan that's saving me 6%. I can make 100%. So I understand returns on my investment, right? Everybody's at different points in whether it's an accumulation stage of property, whether it's of building businesses. And that's another thing, like understand if you were to put that $1 million back into your business, what's your return going to be?
Yeah.
Right? That $1 million can go towards staff, it can go towards marketing, it can go towards just stock, right? What is your return going to be? Are you going to turn that $1 million into 2 in the next, say, 18 to 24 months, like I am with my projects, right? So you got to understand where can you get the best return, and everybody's different, right? Like you might only know how to get a 20% return. Then that's what you should be focusing on. And this is where this piece of advice comes from. It's like, only put your money where you know you can do better than something else. Right? So what we call that is outperform the market. So for me, I don't know a better return than my own development project. That's just what I do. Some people know crypto. I put $1 million in the crypto, I can make 5. I don't know how to do that, right? It could be shares. I don't know that stuff either. But I know through my business and my strategies, I can make 100% cash on cash return in say 1.5, 2 years. So I focus on that. Now, something else might come and give me a 200% return in that same amount of time. And then I become an expert on that. I'm like, well, that's what I'm going to do there. So it's always figuring out where can I get the best return, and getting my capital working as hard as possible. That's been a really, really big piece of advice from this one guy, because it's like, he's really big on that. You know, like he'll buy a site for $30 million, go and borrow money, $70 million to do a $100 million project, then he'll make $50 million. Like it's just obviously bigger numbers, but he understands that that's where all of his capital has to go, right? There's no use in him even buying investment properties. He should just be doing that. That's his thing. He can make so much money doing it, right?
So it's understanding where your greatest return can be. Everyone's different. Parking your money in that space. No, I love it. I love it. I think just quickly on this topic, I think there's one thing, understanding numbers. I think that's the micro level and very important for the personal, say, business. You also have to zoom out and understand the system. So there's your personal level and the developments where you can make your margin. Then you have to sort of zoom out. It's a bit more complicated. We like talking about it, but zooming out, understand the system you're in, understand like inflation. What does it actually mean? What does it do? What happens to your money over time? Say interest rates, what to do when interest rates go up, what is that telling you to do when they go down, all that kind of stuff. So the macro as well, even though it's probably not as personal or as exciting and relatable, you got to look at that picture as well, those numbers.
Well, you can get caught out. You get caught out. And again, it goes back to if you're going growth, which I was just talking about, you can't do that all the time.
And the macro saying don't.
But also, the one thing we need to touch on is risk. Right? So with my stuff, like that big deal that I lost this year, a lot of risk in that. Like it was a new relationship, it was a new set of consultants, it was a new set of builders, never worked with them before. There was risk. And the reason why I do it first, because I want to make sure that if I get my clients into it, it's a rock solid deal, right? But I took on that risk and like I lost. You know what I mean? So you've got to understand also, what are you willing to risk? Like I didn't go all in on that. Like
you were willing to risk.
Yeah, it's a small percentage of my net worth that was lost. It still hurts, but it hasn't crippled me. I'm not bankrupt, right? So you've got to understand. Okay, what are you willing to risk, and what type of person are you? Like sometimes people are suited to just paying down their home loan and having a house paid off. That's just their personality type, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that we know better ways to outperform the market. Let's move on.
Okay, I had a good one about
tell me.
I was just going to say, I heard it on another podcast. Anyway, quick one. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. So the more you can learn about and practice and get better at it, it minimizes the risk.
Yeah.
Quick example, when you're learning to cross the road, if you don't look both ways, you'll walk, you're going to die. So the simple fact of looking both ways over time, you're going to learn how to cross the road without risk. It could be a car coming. You probably heard this on another podcast. It could be a car coming, which is minimal risk, or a motorbike, or a semi-trailer. The risk size doesn't change if I know what I'm doing. I can navigate the risk. So it doesn't matter what's coming at me, no?
It's a good analogy.
So you've got to learn how to do what you're doing to minimize the risk. So there's always risk, but you can mitigate as much
and
as
as much knowledge and education you can have can mitigate that risk.
Exactly. All right, number 7, mentor advice. Do more volume. This is your number 1.
Yeah, so it's, we see a lot of stuff on Instagram now, people saying we can scale your business, blah, 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 blah. Look, at the end of the day, you want to do as much volume as you can within your parameters. You don't want to do too much where it becomes overwhelming and you're not enjoying your work anymore, but you should always be focused on doing more and more and more. As humans, we're actually capable of doing more than we're actually doing now. But, watch the burnout, but continue, find out what it is that works and just do more of it.
Yeah, I think as well, one thing to consider is volume is usually looked at from the top line, revenue. Just make sure when you're, say, increasing sales or getting more through the door, you're not sacrificing profit, because that can occur. You chase a revenue, but your costs increase, and you're no better off than you were before when you were doing less. So
very important.
Do more volume, but you have to monitor it and just make sure you're getting more profit from that volume. So I think, it's just another way to look at it.
Look, it's a standard, this mentor's Lebanese, and it's a standard Lebo piece of advice is do more volume. Like, just look at all
Sales
these duplexes out of West, they've done so much volume up there, and they've taken over the whole suburbs, you know what I mean? But that's I guess the Lebo mentality. It's like, find out what works and just scale it, you know what I mean? Like, if it works once, it's going to work 100 times. I love that.
You don't have to be too smart. Just do what works. All right, number 8, create a vision and drive towards it. Ignore the noise. Yeah, so you're going to create a vision and everyone's going to laugh at you, right? And Alex Hormozi talks about this thing called the lonely chapter. And I resonate with it for so much, because there was a lonely chapter for me, I think, for a good probably 10 years. And it was only until, so I've been in business for about, 15 years now. Your whole adult life, really.
Yeah, and the first 10 years is very, very lonely. And you're trying to create this vision and people are laughing at you. You got family, you got friends sort of just saying, why don't you just get a normal job? They start hating on all of your stuff, and you hear the digs and the stabs in the background, like behind your back, because you hear it through secondhand information, and it becomes quite demotivating, because you're like, oh, I don't even know if this is going to work, right? Obviously, if you could fast forward and go, oh yeah, okay, it works, then I don't have to worry about that. But when you're in the thick of it, like, that is the toughest period in business. And it took me 10 years. Some people it takes 5 years, some people it's 2 years, some people it's 20 years. But that lonely chapter, especially if you come from nothing, is very, very difficult to get through. And you are the only one that can have that vision. And this is what my mentor said to me. He goes, don't let anyone try and change that vision unless it's changing for the better and it's becoming a bigger vision.
Do you think it's handy with this mentor, because I assume he has a massive vision for what he's doing? Is it handy having someone with such a massive vision that you go, okay, well, my vision, he's not laughing at your vision. He's like, fuck, well done. So do you think there's merit in hanging out with people that's like your network that are doing massive things? In all
honesty, at first, like, I told him my vision and he was sort of against it, to be honest with you, right? And it's a bit weird, because it was sort of like, well, why are you doing that? But now, as time has gone on, he can see what I'm trying to achieve, and he's like, and this is where he came up with this bit of advice. I remember we were sitting at a restaurant and I was just telling him.
Even he was trying to tell you.
Yeah, and I was telling him, I go, bro, I will die trying to find the answer to this vision, because I need my son to see me working so hard towards this, and so that if something happens to me, he can continue this vision, right? And when I told him that, he said to me, he goes, okay, then if you've got the vision, only you can have the vision, stick to it. Don't let anyone, not even me, tell you can't do it.
I love it.
Right? And I actually never got that growing up as a kid, right? Like my parents were always like, you know, just
do this, go down that path.
Go to uni, get a stable job, you know, like don't do anything too crazy, like, you know.
Don't dream too big.
Yeah.
Sort of, everyone's told that. Don't risk too much.
My dad used to say, you're a daydreamer and all of that sort of thing. You know, you're never going to make it here because it's 1 in a million and all of that sort of thing. But then when you start sort of mixing with people that have done really big things and they're so worldly, and you tell them your ideas and they go, Zah, you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do anything you fucking want. And that's what I try and tell my clients. I go, whatever it is that you want out of life, you can fucking do it. Like you can. Whatever it is that you want, you have to fucking believe in it. And we say this to our clients about the strategy, right? Like you've got to fucking believe in the strategy. As soon as you don't believe in it, it's not going to work. And people think, oh, it's some sort of hocus pocus fucking mumbo jumbo, but it's true. Because if you fucking believe in it in here, it will fucking work, because you will make it work.
Make it happen.
You'll force it to work, right? You'll work 24 hours a day to make it work. And that's what I said to my mentor. I'll die trying to fucking find the answer. And he was like, okay, Matt, I actually now believe that you're going to actually achieve this thing. Go out and get it.
Oh, fucking love it, man. Love it. I don't want to ruin that sort of piece. We'll keep moving. All right, number 9. Killer instinct will expire. Use it before you lose it. All right, I have a comment on this one. Do you think killer instinct will expire? I think it depends on the person and what they do with their life. Because you gotta see, there's some older dudes, especially in property, it's a bit biased, but they're still doing massive things because of what they've done previously and what industry they're in, or what they've previously achieved. So I think, I know what you're saying. I think for 90% of people, it might expire at some stage. But I think depending on what area you're dealing with,
it depends. Everyone's different, Sam. So things are going to happen, right? And I've probably thought about this more since having kids. And you know, like for example, Cash was sick yesterday, and you know, I had a pretty busy day lined up, and I just dropped everything. Dropped everything. We didn't put him into daycare, obviously, and I just spent pretty much the majority of the day with him. And I couldn't take any phone calls, couldn't do any emails. And to be honest with you, I didn't give a fuck about my work. And that's going to happen more often. So I'm not saying that my kids are going to kill my killer instinct, but certain things are going to happen within your life where it is going to sort of die down in a way where you're going to have other priorities pop up, right? Like you never know, someone close to you could get sick, and then you have to put all of your energy there. And then that killer instinct then needs to be transferred into your family or into that person. So, you know, I've got the killer instinct now, right? I still have it now, and I'll fight for my family and I'll fight for my community. I'll do whatever it takes to become successful in what I do and become an inspiration and motivation to others, right? While I can. Because you just never ever know when that will expire. I hope it never expires with me, but it may. So you've got to live and work like there's no tomorrow. And this is where the sense of urgency comes in, and this is where we lack it in this country. There's no pain here. People live such a fucking easy life. There's no pressure to sign a contract. There's no pressure to grow your wealth, because middle class is actually all right here. You look at these guys in Palestine, Sam, they would look at our life and go, what, you've got the fucking opportunity to grow and just do anything you want in this world. And here we are stuck under rubble, can't get fucking water, can't get food, right? These people would be looking at us going, you lucky bastards, go and take that opportunity, because we can't do anything.
So we sort of lost how special the country is, the opportunity.
Man, we got to represent these people, right? We've got to represent these people and go, look, we are showing you what the human race can do, right? That's what they'll be looking at us for. They'll be going, what, you're wasting your life sitting on the couch, getting out of shape, not going to work when you could be working. We would kill to go to work. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
so you've got to look at that opportunity that we have in this country to grow and do something special. Forget about money, right? Think about the impact that you can have on others, the amount of people you can help, the charities you can donate to, the people you can aspire, right? The people that you can keep off the streets because they look at you and go, oh, I don't need to turn for the life of crime and drugs and all of that bullshit. I can do it through legitimate business because look at what Zar did, right? The impact. And this is where people fall down and they think, I'm selfish. I'm just thinking about myself. I just want to kick back and just live a cruisy life. No, man. God didn't fucking give you that opportunity for you to waste it that way. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then that's why you'd stand out
How the
so
fuck
much.
can we talk about this? Where did this come from? Killer instinct?
Killer, I'm not letting you stop, man. So I'm not going to intrude. I just don't know what to say no more, mate. That was very powerful. Very powerful.
Well, it's truth, isn't it? It's truth. This is what happens when you don't do a podcast. Go mad.
It's 10 months worth, 10 months. All right, last one to finish off. Number 10, mentor advice. Work with purpose. This goes back to what you're saying. So I think, nice quote from a rap song. The purpose of life is to live a life with purpose. I think everyone looks at their life and goes, okay, what's the point of it? And I like this quote because it's saying just live with a fucking purpose.
Yeah.
You could go around like a sheet in the wind or whatever, but find something, do it well, help as many people as you can, and you'll get a lot of joy in your purpose.
It's very rewarding, right?
Yeah.
And where this came from my mentor is that he was at my place for dinner one night, and I think my son was just born, and we were talking about what do we want our kids, because his kids are a little bit older, they're going to uni and stuff now. And he said, we were asking him, okay, what do you want your kids to do? And I was like, I don't know like what my plan is for Cash. I just had him like, you know, do I give him everything? Do I give him the business? Do I teach him how to do the business? Or, you know, what do I do? Do I send him to the army? What do I do, right? And he said to me, he goes, look, I actually don't care what they do. I want them to work hard, but most importantly, I want them to work with purpose.
Yeah. Okay.
And he said, we all here, as in all the adults that were sitting at the table, we all work with purpose, and we actually really enjoy what we're doing, and we find it very rewarding. You know, he pointed to me and he goes, Zar, you help people get into the market, you help them understand property, you help grow their wealth. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to do it without you. That's really rewarding for you. He goes, I'm a big manufacturer of housing. I'm contributing to the supply issue that we have here in Australia. I'm doing it at an affordable price point so first-time buyers can get in. That has big meaning to me. So he said, with our kids, it's not about money. It's just really, if they work with purpose, then there's a big chance that they'll never suffer from depression.
They'll be happy.
Right? And they'll be happy. And which is a big thing now. Like there's a lot of people that have anxiety, depression, are unhappy with their lives. I would say mainly because maybe they're not working with purpose or living with purpose. So I think that's a really important thing to continue on with. When we go through tough times, think of the reason why you got into this business in the first place. Like it's not just about making money. It's about serving others. It's about helping. It's about impacting the community in a positive way. It's about, you know, building more capital up so you can make more donations to your chosen foundation or charity. You know, like tie it in with something that means so much to you that, you know, like the depression and anxiety bug can't really get in the way there because your mission is so strong and so compelling. You'll move past that.
And usually that mission, there's no time span on it, because really what I do as well, helping people with understanding money and taxes, that'll go forever. So it's not seasonal or anything like that. So you're constantly going to be helping people, and your purpose will consistently be fulfilled.
Yeah, and look, if we can build a community, like all of our listeners are our community, our clients, into a strong community that are wealthy and also are willing to help others as well, we can really make the world a better place. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a big, bad, dirty world out there, especially at the moment. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's really important to stay on track, understand that, you know, we are going through some tough times, but you know, there's some good pieces of advice in this one that will hopefully help you pull through this weak economy and you know, work towards this recovery. But also understand there's a lot of fucking people out there doing it tough. Like,
worse off than
not here in this country. Like, these people overseas, they're being displaced from their homes. They have no clean water and no food to eat. The babies are malnourished. Like, we need to take a stand as a human race to do better amongst ourselves, build a bigger community so we can help others when the opportunity comes. You know, I know we go on about donations and all of that sort of thing, and it feels like it's not really going anywhere. But if we build a strong enough community and mindset base, we'll be able to contribute more.
Everything helps.
When the time comes.
I love it.
All right, that was a long one. Until next time, thanks, Sam.
No worries, man.
Appreciate you. We'll try and get another one before the end of the year, yeah?
Sounds good.
See you guys. Peace out.